Cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war. Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1. The Red Dawn invasion. Target, Ukraine. Our friend Vlad is up to his tricks projecting power in order to maintain his naval bases. He's been doing it in Syria. He's made a deal for a naval base in Egypt by sending them surface-to-surface missiles and anti-air missiles and military package. But you can see what he's doing. He wants to keep his naval base in Sebastopol, Ukraine. He wants to keep his base in Syria. He wants to keep a naval base in Egypt, since he lost one in Tripoli. So have yourself a bottle of booze, because look who's in charge of the world. Cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war. Indeed, here he is in his Soviet KGB ID photo. Jesus. And he has some very unique friends. So you can see his strategy unfolding, to maintain these naval bases to project his power. He's using Iran. Going to give them more centrifuges, more than another nuclear reactor, whatever they want, in order to maintain his control of and the ability to have a naval base in Syria. And he will do anything to keep it in Sebastopol. Now, when the Soviet Union broke up, that's actually where the Chinese got their carrier from, was the Ukraine sold it to them. Because the naval forces were kind of split up between all the countries there, not just Ukraine, Belarus. Everybody had like some claim to Sebastopol, but so it's very interesting. Here he is with his president Medvedev, or whatever it is, with Bashar al-Assad. Really nice guy who kills a lot of people in Hamas, and just like his father did. Same thing. There's going to be a picture later of the ruins in 1982. And so now I know there's going to be a lot of people who are all ready to blame the Jews for everything again. Obviously this is somehow all Israel and the Jews' fault. So here's a picture coming up of Hafez al-Assad, Bashar's father, planning the 1962 war right before he sent his tank divisions into the Golan Heights. That's top-of-the-line T-55 Soviet tanks, and they pretty much blew all the Israel tanks off of the Golan Heights, and the only reason they got screwed over was because Israel's reserve tank battalions came up, and the T-55 tank didn't have declination to shoot down, and they were sitting on top of the Golan Heights, and their barrels couldn't go down far enough, so the Israelis just could shoot up at all the tanks that were trying to shoot down at them. They just went underneath, and the Syrians couldn't shoot at them, and the Israelis just blew a ton of tanks off, and then they rode up and wiped out the rest of them. And that was that. So here's that picture of Hama that I promised you. And you can tell, again, this is force projection. Putin is thinking like a Soviet-era strategist. He wants control of his base in Sebastopol. He wants control of his base in Syria. And here's, all you people at the American Warning Channel, go ahead and blame the Jews in Israel. I'm used to your anti-Semitic nationalist crap. Bunch of Nazis on that channel. Anyway, here is your top guy with our friend again, Vlad. And so now we don't really have a whole lot of interest in Ukraine, except, what happened. Let's just talk about what happened. $70 billion goes missing out of the Ukrainian treasury. This is his strategy. First, the place gets robbed. Probably the Russian mob had something to do with it. $70 billion, either it's pounds or dollars, disappeared. And after that, now the snipers that were shooting at the demonstrators in Kiev, they weren't from Kiev. The Kiev police stood down, but they imported people from wearing police uniforms from somewhere in the Crimea. And guess who redeployed after Sochi? The special forces who were guarding Sochi deployed to the Russian naval base in Sevastopol. And mysteriously, police show up, and then mysteriously, these anonymous Russian forces who don't know their way around, ask for help from the local Russian population there and support. Just because they aren't wearing patches that say USSR Special Forces, that's who they are. They're just not wearing patches. So, a lot of the problem in the world is that when one majority takes over, and they win a vote, or they overthrow a dictator or whatever, they tend to screw over all the minorities, or they don't pay any attention to them, they don't give them any voice, or they don't give them any significant voice, and they don't take into account their concerns. They're only concerned, okay, we're in charge, we want what we get, and we want what we want, and everybody else can go piss off. And, in America, at least we have minorities. We kind of know how to kind of give minorities some kind of rights. Well, that's, at least we have, we got a black guy in the White House, who's screwing everything up. But whatever, there are some ways that minorities have rights in America, and at least they have a voice and opinion. They can say stuff. But in these other countries, most of the world doesn't get how to include a minority at all. So you just have lots of fighting and killing and looting and pillaging and cry havoc. Let's slip the dogs of war, which is so Putin wants his naval bases. He will do anything to get them. But he's thinking like a Soviet-era leadership. This is probably going to come back to bite him in the long run. But that is my rant for today. The invasion of Ukraine. Why Volcano Squad out.